Lockie, and welcome to the Spotted Moth Story Hour, filmed at 118 Elliot Gallery. We combined our December and January shows for this episode, and December's theme was gratitude or ingratitude. Here are our December tellers.
But the doorbell rings, and I've been up since 5 a.m. And I didn't get a chance to, I don't know if I brushed my teeth. I don't know if I combed my hair. I certainly didn't have time to put on makeup, and I'm not dressed very well. And there are people who are coming who will actually look down on me for that, even though I spent the whole day preparing the food for them. And I made 17 dishes. It's a record, but I took a picture, and on the table, there are 17 dishes. I did everything. I've been cooking for 3 days. I did the mac and cheese with 12 different spices. I did the sweet potatoes, which I can no longer eat. I developed an allergy to my favorite Thanksgiving dish out of the blue. I am allergic to sweet potatoes, and it's not subtle, and it is immediate. So there's no question about it. I cannot eat sweet potatoes anymore. So how this happens? How did this happen? I'm asking myself, how am I in this predicament? And the thing is that my family doesn't live near me, and my husband's family doesn't live near me. So we have the responsibility of putting on all the holidays all the time, and it just built up. And where do we get this idea? I ask myself, why do we have to do this? Why do we put this burden on ourselves? Because it's keeping up with the Joneses. It's just doing what everyone else does. What you see on TV, that Norman Rockwell Thanksgiving, is what we all have in our mind. That's what we're supposed to do. That's how we're supposed to celebrate. So we break our backs to make that happen. And sometimes, it falls a little short, and that's what happened one year. As it happened, one year, my son, who is here right now, was working at a sandwich shop, which was a very good sandwich shop, well-renowned in all of Atlanta, the Victory Sandwich Shop. And they were known for their turkey breast, and what they did with their turkey breast to make it so good and succulent was they brined it for 2 days. And knowing this, I was not to be outdone by a sandwich shop. So I was going to brine the turkey for 3 days. 3 days I brined this turkey. I figured it would be absolutely delicious. But to my dismay, when I went to the bucket, the big food-grade bucket filled with cold water, which wasn't cold anymore. Uh-oh. Yeah. I pulled this turkey out of the brine, and it's a stinker. Yeah, it's a bad turkey. It's a real bad turkey. And I know this, but I just figured, you know what? I'm going to cook the shit out of this thing. It's going to cook for 7 hours, and we're going to cook the bad out of this turkey. And it did not work. All I can say is that it was just as bad coming out of the oven as it was going in the oven, perhaps maybe a little bit worse. And, I kind of thought, all right, we'll just put it out there. And every person around the table put about a half a mouthful of this turkey in their mouth, and we all knew it was terrible. And they spat it out, and they were very good. I must say, everyone who was there was very kind about it. We just took the turkey from the table and threw it directly, the whole thing, into the trash. Out it went. And we filled up on all the sides. I made 17 sides. I made a beautiful Mexican bread pudding dessert, which is called capilla todada, which is fantastic. If you ever get a chance to make it or do it, it's like ambrosia. It's almost as good as Watergate salad, which is almost as good as sex. So just try some of these dishes out. But you're off the beaten track. They're out there. You can make these things. And all I can say is that I made maybe 35 maybe 50 turkeys for Christmas and Thanksgiving and Easter too. I like turkey. I'll make it just for making turkey. But that is the one that everybody remembers. All right, thank you. So our next teller is the esteemed Harold Hamilton. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This is as much a story as it is sort of free-floating hostility. Does anyone here this small simple group have a December birthday? Anybody? Do you know anyone with a December birthday? Yes. But I'm going to probably celebrate this. They are the most bitter people on the planet. December babies are just the absolute worst, and I know this because I am one. I think when you're in early December, you still have a little bit of Thanksgiving to shine, but for the most part, December babies are horrible. The closer your birthday is to Christmas, the worse you are. My birthday is the 21st. My cousin's the 22nd. He's way worse than I am. And I don't even talk to people who are born on Christmas because I don't want to open that up. So what we've all dealt with, all this December bitter babies, I dealt with the Happy Merry Christmas Day, the combination gift that happens every time. No one comes to your birthday party because we're going to see you on Christmas anyway. But by the time Christmas comes around, they don't have time to talk to you because all the other kids are around. So it's just, that's what it is. But Christmas always comes around. And then your aunt comes and gives you that present that says, Happy Birthday, Merry Christmas. So you open it up. It's a pair of socks. I'm thinking, one sock is for my birthday. One sock is for Christmas. Well, thanks. And then my aunt says, well, that's from your uncle, too. So the math gets worse at that point. And I appreciate socks now, though, grown up. But then all I had was winter clothes. I was like wearing a parka and boots in July. I didn't have shorts until I was like 15. And that's what you had. But that's what it was. That's the curse of the December baby. I had a little extra piece of this is that I was born on December 21st, which, as you know, is a solstice. Now, back in the late 80s, early 90s, it was really hit for, these universe to sort of go against the Judeo-Christian established traditions and, declare that they were pagans, Wiccans, or something like that. So they all started having solstice parties instead. So anytime they even entertained the idea of birthday party, they would get screwed by other fishes on that report by solstice. Yes. Anyway, this is about gratitude. So I want to see what it's all about in gratitude. I have a little moment of the story here, this a little better. There was one year I was entertaining the idea of having a birthday party. I was going to draw myself if I had to. I was asking around. So everybody was busy with either a Christmas party or Christmas shopping or the solstice parties. And I had a lot of hippie friends who had their inside their solstice parties on that day. They were all telling me, "No, I'm a solstice party. You can come by if you want." But I said, "Yeah, sure, maybe." Knowing full well there was no chance in hell I was going to go to a solstice party that day. So I just felt, maybe I'll play some music on my birthday. Maybe I'll make something on my birthday. Maybe I'll write something on my birthday. I'll do something. And so my birthday is there. And a dear friend of mine, artist friend of mine, had called me up. He didn't actually touch him with this back then. He was called me on a damn phone attached to the wall. And he said he was working on a new painting that he really wanted me to see. He was working on this painting, was telling me all about it. I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. So he picked me up. We started going over to where his studio is, and then he passes the studio, but where are we going? It's like, oh, we're going to stop by Jenny's really quick and stop at the parties. I'm on swag. Solstice fighting. It's like, just come on. So, begrudgingly, he drags me into this party. And as I walk in, I see balloons, and I see a banner that says, Happy Birthday, Carol. And I just it's a moment of the gratitude I did not know it was more than I could have done in any Christmas party, birthday party, combination of my childhood. That's my story. That's all I have.
Our next teller is going to be a musician and a writer and I guess an actor. Now, Don, you're acting now too. So he is. I've already introduced him as Don McClellan. Thank you for coming.
Okay, most of you will have heard this song before, but since the theme is gratitude, this song is a very, very autobiographical song. I like to describe it as a tongue-in-cheek sort of look at my own life. And it's a song that attempts to express gratitude by ironically disguising it as ingratitude. And I call the song Happy Life Blues. Teachers, they all seem to, I don't know, like me. They instilled in me a certain lack of days and confidence to show that the year has transformed into entitlement. Now everywhere I go, I get treated fairly. If I do get tripped up, I land back on my feet quick and squarely. I've had nothing to rebel against. I spent my whole life sitting on top of the fence, watching nothing, the green grass grow all around. I'm not trying to piss and load, but all this good luck has left me feeling rather alone, like nobody understands. Try to summon my list, maybe cough up some bile, but it tastes rather bland. you'll see it's not them. The problem is with you and me. I can't figure out where I've been. To this madness, I'm not sure where to even begin. To seek out some relative truth. So here I am, the aging wannabe rock star, playing his sad tunes for you on this piece of shit guitar. Worried my hair's falling out, while secretly hoping for some kind of turnabout in my own good fortune. You might say that my privilege is showing. Trust me, I'm aware my privilege is positively glowing. But I can still complain. Sweet misery, have I wasted this life being at peace, contented and free? Now I've nothing to show. Is this my legacy? Oh Lord, the God of mercy, I'm nowhere near the artist that I hope to be. Oh, woe from me. Oh, woe from me. Kind of a goofy song. It's one I'm real proud of. I call this little story A Garden of Anecdotes. I'm not even 100% sure why. But I wake up and my skull is full of dirt. I can feel it in there, crumbly, dry, and dusty, as I make my way through the half-lighted morning toward the kitchen. This is not a bad thing. It's fertile, that soil. All it needs is a little tending. And I've got time. I make myself a cup of tea. I'm in no rush. I sit with my cup for a bit and watch as my thoughts begin to rise, shedding their dull light on the distant horizon, a warmish glow. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the world inside my skull spins on its axis, and my mind hurdles its nocturnal barriers and begins to climb in all its diurnal brilliance through otherwise clear skies. Light strikes lone, and an unmistakable heat begins to radiate upwards. It's time now to get to work. There's nothing to do but get my hands dirty. I lift my arms and reach inside my own brain box, two-handed. I plunge my fingers into the rich soil contained therein. I scrape and sift and turn it. I loosen and I aerate it, disturbing the worms who slumber there. They glisten in the daylight when they're exposed, just for a moment. Then they disappear again into the murky depths far faster than you'd think possible for any creature with no limbs. Despite their creepy, wriggling, snake-like lack of charm, worms are always a good omen, a sign that soil is healthy and ready to produce. Once the ground has been properly prepared, when it feels springy but almost flesh-like to the touch, I reach a grimy hand into my pocket and grab a handful of the random mixture of seeds I'm always carrying about me. I sprinkle them liberally onto the freshly turned surface, then press them gently into the soil. Not too deep, not too shallow. And I smooth that surface over with my flattened hand. More waiting and a little more tea. Some for me, some for my little patch. All is peaceful. Calm, light, soil, seeds, water, then magic and life. Don't blink or you'll miss it. Beneath the surface, in the dark, ideas are swelling and bursting. Roots, like lightning in super slow motion, streak downward in search of the nourishment they need to thrive. Then, at the surface, the tiniest little crystalline nodule gives a shiver, then a little quake, and up pops a new little shoot. There's a surge of energy as light strikes tender young cells. Atoms are sucked up and arranged into molecules, then molecules into organic matter. Letters into words, into sentences. Science and divinity working in concert. A process set in motion. A flow created and sustained. And a new story has been born.
In January, our theme was new beginnings or happy endings. Here are the stories.
I went over to someone's house the other day, and on their fridge they had a placard which said, "If you don't find joy in the snow, you will have exactly the same amount of snow, but a lot less joy." And this is my third winter in Vermont, and I'm finding joy in the snow. I've gone sledding with my granddaughter, snowshoed, I've trudged knee-high through drifts looking for my lost dog. And I think this snow that we just had is particularly pretty, with these little eddies of sky blue reflected from the sky where boots or hooves have gone before you, and the little bit of crystal snowflakes on the top. It's just been beautiful. But my first winter I was here, in 2023, I was angry. So angry. Angry to have given up my beautiful home in Alpharetta, Georgia, my job, my friends, and two dumpster loads full of stuff. Furniture, clothing, collectibles, jewelry, you name it. We lived in that house for 27 years, and you just have to imagine how much stuff we had. We had stuff from our 3 kids who had left behind for us to house it for them that they were never going to look at again. So we filled up 2 dumpsters. Also, I want to say the inconvenience of cold weather when you are used to stepping out of your house in February in shirt sleeves, having to get armored against the weather that is out to kill you is a foreign experience. It's just something that you have to get used to. And I really think that I finally did. I'm finally wearing enough layers to go out in and feel comfortable, and that is a thermal shirt, and a regular shirt, and a sweater, and a hoodie, and a coat. I mean, it's a lot of layers, but it works. And once you get that formula together, it's not that bad. Now, the other thing is, I had never lived in a small town before. And really, John Cougar Mellencamp was the only thing I knew about living in a small town. And initially, I was paranoid. I was paranoid about it because everywhere I went, I kept seeing the same people. And I'm like, are they stalking me? I was, why are they staring? What do they want from me? And it took me a little while to realize that there just aren't that many places that you can go. So you will see the same people everywhere you go. And they know everybody else and they don't know you. And that's why they're staring, because you're different. So it took me a long time to learn that. And then I realized that there are rules to living in a small town, and that is, this one I learned the hard way. Everybody knows everybody and they talk, and you have to be nice to everybody. Anywho, just a little backstory on me. Maybe some people here know this, but I'm a twin, okay? And birth order matters in terms of personality. So the firstborn in a family, usually very responsible, hardworking, independent, okay? The middle kid, the wild one. We know this. They're always getting into trouble because they want all the attention. And then there's the baby. And babies are, well, they're babies, right? They just get all the love from the whole family, and they get a little bit spoiled. So those are babies. Now let me tell you something about twins, because we're not as common. Normally, in a set of twins, there's a gregarious one. There's the one who goes out and does things. And then there's the watcher. There's the one who hangs back and kind of observes, like, are they gonna fall on their face? Are they gonna get punished? What's gonna happen? What are people gonna think? And I'm that one. I'm the watcher. So I've been observing you Vermonters and your habits and trying to adopt some of your habits and assimilate. I think I'm doing pretty good, okay? Yeah, thank you. So the first thing that really got me was the hugging. Oh my God, you guys are such big huggers. I'd be sitting there and be counting like, what? Exactly. That's exactly right. And the other thing is not just the hugging, but the idea of personal space is different here. And I finally realized it's because you're all like penguins. You're used to kind of like huddling together in the warm. So you're used to being packed more tightly than we city people can tolerate. So that took me a little while to get used to. And the other very, very Vermonty thing that y'all do is volunteering. Volunteerism is huge. The level of social engagement is incredible here. I mean, I meet people all the time who have a good job. They're working at an NGO, and then they're on 3 boards, and you see them doing everything everywhere, and that's amazing. And your select board meetings are like 12 hours long. It's ridiculous. This is not a Southern thing, I will tell you, that's for sure. We leave it to the big guys to take care of stuff, and we're not as engaged, let's just say. But I did try a few things. I tried the First Congo Church, I tried Edible Brattleboro, very good organization, local theater. But what I really wanted to bring to Brattleboro for what I could do as a public service is a storytelling group, because there just wasn't a storytelling group. And I was so surprised because y'all are so literate and readers and writers, and there are so many people with so much history here that we want to hear your story. So this is how we learn to know others, is from their stories. It's how people know us, is from the stories that we tell about ourselves. And the beauty of that is that we are not set in stone, okay? Our stories can change. Your story doesn't define you. And probably the greatest story of all time, which demonstrates this, is Dickens' A Christmas Carol. Scrooge
is a rule follower and a righteous man by his own accounting. And he wakes up on Christmas Day, after a journey through his past, present, and future, reborn. And the possibility of redemption through opening one's heart, and yes, their pocketbook, to other people is what makes meaning in our lives. It's not accumulating wealth. It's not accumulating stuff or likes on Facebook. And maybe that rugged individualism and American exceptionalism is what got us to where we are now. With the othering, and the immigrants, and the Somalis, and all the people who are not like us, whose skin color is not like us. So maybe in America, we can start to be a kinder, gentler place. And thank you. And our next teller now is going to be Miss Tina Olson.
Thank you. The backbone of the story I'm going to tell is kind of the gist of my life. Like, I think any story that means something to us really is, it's like our backbone. I worked in a psychiatric hospital for 20 years. Now, not everybody does that, or I used to ask myself, why am I here? How did this happen at all? But I did creative arts therapy there because I'd only been able my whole life to do art and music and dancing and stuff like that. But I was able to fake it in school somehow, I don't know how, because I didn't get good grades, but I did used to come home every day and read about the big words. I loved big words. And I'm failing in school, but I'm learning about all the big words. And when it came to the SATs, I did really well. So I managed to get into college, and I like to read. And so I feel like being creative saved my life in a way. Life was not so easy for me. Growing up in Springfield, Massachusetts, I'm not going to go into details, but it'll give you an idea. When I look back at my life, I was the oldest of twins. My mother had me for a year, and then she had twins. But you have to have a boy in 1943, because if you don't have a boy, you're kind of a failure. No offense, I think that men have as much a hard time as we do, or did anyway. But she really needed to have a boy, and she got her boy, and then 5 years later, and she said, oh, I can relax, now I have my boy. But there was he turned out to be autistic, and I had to take care of him, and it was a great difficulty, and there's a lot of shame involved in it, because he made very strange noises, and my sisters were a year younger than me, and I was kind of having to raise myself. So what got me in the psychiatric hospital, I do believe, had something to do with being a year old and being replaced. At any rate, I'd come home from school and I would draw. And I would make a scribble and then I'd fill in the scribble. And it turns out, looking back, having had this ability to do this, I can see my life almost as in pieces of my artwork. And I begin to remember that I used to do drawings of rabbits being lost, going into holes, and telling stories about lost people. And I realized, I was telling the story of my own life and drawing pictures of the land around me. Because when I did do paintings of the land around me, I felt like I belong here, The trauma of being replaced or abandoned leaves one, I since learned, what they call dissociated, that you half the time spend your life someplace else and detached. So making drawings and stories brought me right back to here. So when I had to get a job out of school, I fortunately was lucky. I liked people, and I liked to draw and paint, and I was able to get a degree as a social worker. So that put together that I could do something I love to do, and I could get a job. So there I am at the psychiatric hospital in Staten Island, served people from all over the world. And when I was there, we had a Spanish unit, a unit for Russians, and a Chinese unit. This is in 1996 was when I first came there. So here I am with all these people who, in a way, they had their own language, but I'm painting with them. And I found that if I told stories and made music, then I felt like one. And that kind of made us all sane. So that's the story I want to tell. There was a certain amount of suffering, that drove me to connect very much to people who were very suffering. I don't want to go off on a tangent, which I'm good at doing. But so there I am, being a social worker at South Beach Psychiatric Center in Staten Island, and I'm 45 years old. I'm starting a second career, and I'm pretty terrified. But I'm finding that I'm okay there. I can do this. And then one day I hear that we have a patient who has murdered his father. Not only murdered his father, but torn him apart limb from limb, and this sent a shockwave throughout the hospital. Oh, who is this person? So I, in all honesty, had to admit that, oh my God, I gotta see who this is. And my automatic response was to disown this person. This is such a horrible thing. He's not a human being. He's not at all like me. And I realized that I couldn't really work with him with that attitude. That I did have that attitude, as did everyone, all the staff, essentially. What the patient, I don't know. Patients tend to be very kind to each other. At any rate, at that moment, I realized that I was isolating him in such a way that was so punitive that no punishment could be worse. And I realized also that I had hated my father to the point of wanting to kill him. To the point where I'm afraid to go into the kitchen because maybe I'm going to get a knife. I'm a kid. I'm 12 years old. You know, the terror involved in the fear that you're going to do something violent. And I got to the point where whenever I would be near my father, I would get deaf, dumb, and blind. I couldn't see, I'd get numb. So it was really a symptom I've learned since of what's dissociation, fear, anger, murderous. And I'm going, oh, it could be me. That could be me. And why I hadn't killed him was luck, really. So after that, it just changed me. And I had written a song which I felt was pivotal to my freedom. When I was, again, about 12 years old, I thought, I hate my father. I want to kill him. And I couldn't live with that reality unless I shared it with my sisters, which I did. And there was a sense of needing to tell the truth. And that they didn't hate me. They sort of looked at me like, are you out of your mind? Which they mostly did think. But I fell madly in love with folk music, which is what I did sing to the patients at the hospital. Bob Dylan being one of my favorite, Masters of War. So the song, which I'll repeat to you, I hate the bonds that tie me, waiting upon you. And I hate the obligation dictating everything I do. It's true that I have hated you, and I fear your murderous rage, and I cannot even love you now in the weakness of your age. All I can recall of you, great terror of my life, your yokes and your jokes, and your bonds and your yokes and your playing with a knife. The gates of hell shall open up, release me when you die, and I pray for you an early death, and when you die, I will fly. So that was kind of, okay, this is the truth. And this saved me from either going crazy or trying to kill him, because he was violating toward me. I've since learned, of course, that in order to recognize that saved my life. But of course it meant that did I have a father? Not really. But it meant that I was able to see that I was equal to this person. And then I worked with him. And we became friends. And then I shared the song with him. This is how it feels to be molested. And he went with me, I don't know how I can explain it, through what it was like for him to live with a father who was basically abusing his mother. And he was a kid watching this. So we bonded over the truth of what it means to be a human being. And I guess I consider that a story of enlightenment. And if one is able to look at oneself and see deeply, we're really all the same, and making art. And so that's what I did. I have many stories about how people would simply tell the truth about their lives, and they would not be delusional, they would not be violent, they would be sane, and you could see a change in their bodies. It was very a powerful thing. So that's my story.
Our next teller is a friend of mine and an actress who recently appeared in Midnight in Vermont as the Lady Callisto, and it was her first play, and she sang and she did wonderfully well, and we're all amazingly proud of her. So let's hear some Southern Sugar from the 7.
Well, I'm so glad to be here this evening, and I am not from Vermont, and as you can probably tell maybe a little bit, but Lord, you just spoke to my heart. I'm having such a struggle with Vermont winter that I cried in the snowbank after I sank up to my waist, tried to get out, and then face planted, and I just couldn't. I'm just like, I can't do this. I mean, I'm just seriously can't. But I did the same thing. I mean, I'm not to your appreciating winter yet, but this is only my second. Right. So maybe 3's the charm, and next year I won't struggle nearly as much. But this has been, y'all gotta admit, this has been like a major amount of snow, okay? This has been a little bit more. But anyway, my journey here is my story. Back in 2020, well here, first of all, let me preface this. I believe there's a plan for all of us, and I believe that God puts me in a place where I'm supposed to be, and He guides me. And this journey actually started in 2016 when my child, Aubergine, back then it was Brooke, but moved up here, changed to Aubergine, which I think is a beautiful name. It means eggplant in French. And I said, baby, why did you choose a name that is basically an eggplant? She said, Mom, it's the color, and I'm an artist, and it's the aura, it's the color. I said, no, baby, I looked it up in the dictionary and it says here it's an eggplant. So anyway, when I want to get under her skin a little bit, I'll call her my little eggplant. But I started at Marlboro College, and she had all this scholarship money all over the place down south to wonderful universities. So I thought, she'll be driving distance. And then she'll come back to Ruston, Louisiana, where I'm from, and she's going to get married. I'm going to have a great big wedding for her at the country club, and we're all going to be in beautiful chiffon dresses, and I'm going to have this amazing dress, and I'm going to have, 4 grandchildren. I'm going to have 2 boys and 2 girls, and they're all going to get along, and we're just going to have this wonderful, lovely family. Well, here's what happened. So anyway, she wants to come to this little college in Vermont that I'd never even heard of before, and it's $40,000 a semester. And I said, baby, you've got all this free scholarship money. There's no way that we're going to pay for that. Mom, my life depends on it. I'm not gonna be anything unless I can go to this college. I said, well, if you figure it out, I've got your college money put back, and we'll just go ahead and pay for your expenses out of that. So I said, figure it out. So she said, okay. So she goes off on her little, I'm a senior in high school, so I know everything way. And anyway, she entered this beautiful minds competition that Marlboro had. And it was open to everybody all around the world. They even had somebody that applied from Kathmandu. And I don't even know where that is, but it sounds far away. But so anyway, she enters it, and she does this. It's how you don't see color or gender. You just look at somebody's heart, and that's what her art piece was. So she gets all the things together, she makes it, and it was wonderful. I thought, well, she ships it up here, and son of a gun, if she did not win first place, and guess what the prize was? 4-year scholarship, fully paid. So, I had to let her come up here, and I had to pay for all her living expenses because a deal's a deal. Down south, I'm sure it's the same up here. A deal's a deal. So anyway, I thought, that didn't work out like what I thought. So she's up here, and we're way down there. Well, she loves it up here. And she graduates, and she makes a life up here. And my mother had a stroke. I took care of her for 6 years. And there's no way I could leave. I could barely get up here to visit. So anyway, in 2020, and I miss my daughter, missed her terribly. But my life was in Louisiana, hers is up here. So my mother passes away in 2020. So now I'm free to travel more, and I can come up here. And but my husband would never, and he's Southern through and through. He likes to deer hunt, duck hunt. He likes to mud hog. He likes to shoot snakes in the creek behind the house. We have water moccasins. You want to shoot them. So cute. But anyway, he's just, and we had a big 350-acre camp in Arkansas, a big, beautiful house. I had horses. We had a beautiful life. And 2021, my husband passed away. And it was from, I won't even go into it. It was COVID related. And anyway, I won't go into that. But he's the love of my life. He was my soulmate, my partner, and father of my child. And it just, everything that I ever wanted in a person. And I lost him. My heart broke. But we had a business together that we had built called Training Logic. He was a corporate trainer, and I was the CFO of the company, so I did all the money part. And he went out there and made it, and I scooped it in. So we made a great team. We had a wonderful staff. Well, after Thomas passed away, I didn't have the heart for it. And he was the main component of it. And it wasn't right for me any longer. So I sold the company in 2022. Well, I didn't use the camp. So in 2023, I sold. That's where we were going to retire. That's where we were going to have our paradise, our golden years together, hunting and fishing, and we had a stocked lake. We were pulling out 8-pound largemouth bass. That's good eating there. So anyway, we hunted everything. We could have lived off the land and only saw people if we really wanted to. But anyway, that's where we were going to go. Well, it wasn't the same. Every time I went up there, I cried. So and it was just not. I just couldn't go there. So I sold it in 2023. Well, then my child up here starts saying, "Mom, I'm your only child, and if I get married and have grandchildren, and what about where are you going to be?" And I thought, I guess I'm going to be up there, right? And she said, I think that's a great idea. So then in 2024, I sold my house, and here I am now. And it was a huge move. I had a ginormous property, house, guest house. I had to get rid of a whole house full of furniture. I'm in one house now, which is actually nice. But it was just such a traumatic move for me, and I didn't really know anybody here except for my daughter. Well, then I moved into the best neighborhood. God put me in a place I was supposed to be. I moved into the most wonderful house, and I did not know this at the time, but I moved next door to my best friend. That one right there. And she has helped me. She has seen me cry ugly. She has seen me laugh hysterically. She has seen me fall on my face numerous times, snowshoeing for one thing. But she's taught me so many things since I've been here. She's taught me how to be outside and not die in the snow. So I have survival skills now. But the point of my story is that I do believe that God put me here for a reason. And none of this could have ever happened because my dream was Louisiana, big wedding, grandchildren, living with the love of my life. And God said, here, hold my beer. That's a sweet thought, but I think we can do something different for you. And I feel like God looked at Thomas and said, son, you've run your race. Good job, well done. And you get to come home. And he looked at me and he said, we need to work on you just a little bit more. And I know just the person to put you next door to so that we can help you through some of this. But I just feel that it's a journey that has taught me so much about life. Loss, love, friendships, new and old. And that when you plan out your life and you think you got it all figured out, you really don't. But it's okay because you grow into a different person. I'll always love Thomas. He'll always be the love of my life. But I've learned that I'm stronger, like he always told me. He said, you're stronger than what you think. He said, you can do anything if you put your mind to it. And I said, no, I'm only as strong as having you by my side will allow. Because I always depended on him so much just to be my rock. And when my rock disappeared, I was floating aimlessly, but I'm here for a reason. And it all started in 2016 with my daughter being here. And all this had to happen for me to arrive as well. So everybody's been so kind and wonderful. This community has been amazing. I love the people. I don't like snow. I'm not sure I'm going to ever embrace it. But the people have warmed my heart, and I couldn't ask for a better community to land in. So hopefully, if the God willing, and the creek don't rise and the snow doesn't kill me, I will be where you are next year with my love of it. Yeah. So, but thank y'all so much, and I appreciate all that everyone has done to make me feel welcome here.
Grew up in Georgia, went north to school, never looked back, excuse me. And ended up in Vermont to go to Goddard College in 1976. And Goddard was at one of its lowest points. Obviously it managed to get a little lower and is no longer there. But so I only lasted a semester there, but I actually fell in love with Vermont. I love the snow. I'm not a skier, and I've only been on snowshoes a few times. But I love the weather, I love the community, I love the size of it, I love the activism, and here is.
You came for maple syrup.
I had originally come here to make maple syrup some years before I actually landed here. And made maple syrup one spring. But so I lived in central Vermont for 40 years. most of 40 years. I had moved up here with my newish wife from Cape Cod, and was a carpenter for 40 years. And my marriage, my long marriage, somewhat difficult marriage, finally ended. And I was, found I had a lot of time on my hands, so this is just a little advertising. I got involved in shutting down Vermont Yankee. And part of that was joining an organization, New England Coalition, which is based in Brattleboro. So I had reason to be down here in Brattleboro from central Vermont, where I had been for most of 40 years. And I was down here for that work, and also for a slow living conference, which we haven't had around here for a few years, but which was based in Brattleboro, which a whole lot of workshops about small scale agriculture and food production and restaurateuring and whatnot. And I had a short break and found myself in the co-op, the health food co-op here, just grabbing a quick bite to eat. It was in the summer, and I come out to the patio and was starting to wolf down my food. And this woman comes over and sits down right across the table from me. And I had just really 2 weeks before, I'd been divorced now for 4 years. And I just come to a place of calm and acceptance where I decided I may never meet another person. And I really said, you know, I'm going to just set that aside for now. And just get on with my life. So I did. I came down here, I was in the co-op, this woman comes over and sits down almost beside me, and I had noticed her when I had walked through the restaurant there. We had actually smiled at each other. It suddenly became fairly clear, fairly quickly, that she was interested in me, and I was not, I never had that happen before. so kind of boldly. And we were both in a hurry, but after less than a 10-minute conversation, I was feeling a little self-conscious to ask her for her phone number, but I managed to get my number to her and say goodbye. And I told my friend who I was staying with, I said, you know, I was all but sitting beside the phone for the next week, waiting for her to call. It took her most of a week to call me back. And we started talking. And we started calling and talking, and again and again. And I realized that, I wanted to see her again. And I came down. I was on my way south to Atlanta, Georgia. My mother had died the summer before. And my siblings and I were still in the process of settling her estate in the house and taking care of a huge mess. But I figured I could, rather than driving to Boston from central Vermont, I could come south to Brattleboro just as easily, and made a date with Tina. And we had dinner at the Marina restaurant, and we were talking, and 45 minutes, an hour later, the owner came by and said, "Did you enjoy your dinner?" And we said, "Well, we might have, but we never got it." And he was much upset. He went into the kitchen, they lost our order, and quickly brought our dinner out and dinner on the house, all our drinks were on the house. It was kind of a fortuitous thing. And I went down to Atlanta, and that was our first date. Went down to Atlanta, we were on the phone every night. And I came back a couple of weeks later, and we were to meet at the co-op. And I was so excited. I scanned and scanned and scanned, and she wasn't there, and I was so disappointed, and I realized she was like right under my feet. And that was that. That was that. We figured it out very quickly that this was what we were doing with the rest of our lives. And that was 10 years ago, just 10 years ago. And I moved down here that summer, and yeah, we've been together ever since. So that's my best story of my life. What can I say?